Welcome to the Tune Pack Podcast. I'm your host, the punk rock pop, Lee Pierce, and today we're going to be talking about splitting time and resources between multiple projects. And today we're lucky enough to have Cash O'Reilly from the Five and Dime Poets. Cash, thanks for coming on. Why don't you tell everybody a bit about yourself?
Hey, thanks for having me, Lee. Appreciate it. Well, I'm Cash O'Reilly. I do solo work on my own, and plus I have a band, the Five and Dime Poets. Been touring the country for about the last 20, 30 years, independently, writing songs, putting out albums, booking tours, and trying to make it happen.
All right. So reason I had John, because you've been doing music for a long time. You've always had multiple things going on. You can't not. That's just, you got to stay busy. Idle hands,
Absolutely.
So how do you find the time, balance the creative energy between projects when you're doing multi? Because like you do your solo stuff and then you do the full band with the Five and Dime Poets. How do you balance the creative energy so you don't burn yourself out on one project or the other?
Fortunately, the way I'd set it up and do it, it's a lot of the same material that we play, original and cover wise, but it's so different of how we do it. When I'm solo, I have my acoustic and my harmonica, so it's more almost like a folky sound, and kind of, I don't want to say campfire, but because it still has like crazy energy to it. But when I'm with the band, we're usually more always electrified. So I play my electric, and with Tyler on the bass and Justin on percussion, it creates a whole new dimension for the songs. So fortunately for my situation, I don't really ever get burnout creatively. And when I'm writing new stuff for the band, I usually do the same. Like we're getting ready to put out a new EP here in a couple months, and right after that, I'm also releasing a solo acoustic EP with some of the same songs, just acoustic versions of them. So it kind of, I don't know. To me, it's a kind of a win-win. Like I get to do the solo stuff where it's just that acoustic vibe going, and it's kind of my favorite thing to do is play acoustic and sing. But then I also get to rock out with the band and have two different versions of songs to get royalties on.
That's awesome. Well, you touched on something I wasn't even planning on talking about today, but I was just got in a conversation with somebody about the other day about EPs. It's kind of a lost art form. Everybody thinks they got to have, they'll release a single here or there, and then it's got to be a full album. But some of my favorite songs of all time are only ever released on EPs because that gives the artist a smaller project. It's the weird stuff that doesn't fit the vibe of the story the whole album's trying to tell.
Right.
What used to be the B-sides are the EPs now, and I think it's a lost art form that musicians really need to look back into. You don't need to have 16 tracks.
No, especially the way music is consumed today. Like it's, most of the big industry and, corporate rock, corporate in the music business, they are looking for their hit single right then for that week, or to get on the charts for a couple of weeks, whatever, get that money or bang, bang, kind of smash and grab. And then there's, the people who, are artists, but they're kind of going overboard with it, with putting out albums with like 16, 20 tracks on it. And it kind of just falls on almost deaf ears the way music is being released nowadays. If you give them something, if you find somewhere in the middle there, not just a smash and grab track, but not a full album, attention spans go so fast nowadays. And, if you can find some place in the middle, 6 songs, throw it out there and, throw it against the wall and see what sticks, I guess.
Well, and the creative freedom you get too, because every album is going to be a little bit different than the last for most bands. There's some that just don't turn out the exact same sound no matter what. But most albums are a little bit different, so it gives you a chance to step away from your normal sound. And when you got an EP and you're just doing 4 tracks, you might have 12 or 16 tracks, but you're like, this is not an album. It sounds like 4 different bands. Well, ding, there's EPs right there, And I love seeing when musicians do that because that's when you get their best stuff. and because they're
Yeah.
not sitting on a track for a dozen years waiting for the right album to put it on.
Right, right. Yeah, it gave us a lot of creative space. We were recording in Livonia with Vic from the Coffin Cats in his studio, and he helped produce a lot and throw a lot of good ideas out there, and it just not working on so much at once gave us the opportunity to really dig in and find the dimensions of each track. Find out like what's too much, what's not enough. Like let the song kind of tell its own little story. And let it grow as a song instead of ripping out like we got to get this album done. Okay, we got a deadline. We got 17 songs to have mixed and mastered and recorded by this date. We didn't go in that way. I had written some new songs, and plus we taken some of my old stuff and revamped them, and just went in, and we'd been playing them live for a minute. So we went in, set up, played live, and got everything as a foundation, and then just start building it from there.
Well, that's another question I wanted to ask you. So I know most of your, like you said, whether it's the solo stuff or the full band, you cover a lot of the same material, but you obviously sit down and write like, no, this is a Cash O'Reilly song, or no, this is a Five and Dime Poet song. How do you decide when you start working on it? Do you sit down with a plan like this is going to be a Five and Dime song, or do you start writing and kind of see where it ends up leading you?
I just write whatever comes naturally, and I never force myself to write anything. It could be years between songs. It could be a week between songs. I know a lot of writers have the philosophy, just write as many songs as possible, then you'll get a good one eventually. Well, I don't share that same philosophy. I don't want to waste my time writing crap. I'll know right off the bat if it's good or not, and then when I say if it's good or not, that just means if it's something that I feel I want to put out in the world. I don't care what anybody else thinks. It just has to mean something to me. And if I think it's good enough that it means something to me and I put it out in the world, then it just has to come organically and naturally. And then when I do feel like I got something that's kind of like the lightning in a bottle or whatever, I start working on it and writing it. And then wherever the song goes, when the song I feel is kind of done or whatever and written and ready to go, I decide then kind of which one. Is it going to be a solo song? Is it going to be a band song? But most of the stuff I've been writing since I've had the band has kind of worked out to have both, but they worked out to sound great with the band and solo. So I've been very fortunate with that. But we do have one song on the new EP called Below My Grave, which we're fortunate enough to have Ace Von Johnson from LA Guns and a bunch of the old school punk bands playing guitar on this track. He does the lead work on it, and it is absolutely amazing. And this song is completely different from anything I've ever written. It's funky, it's hard, it's aggressive, it's dark. It's really, once you hear it, you almost be like, that's a Cash wrote that. It's really different, and I think because it's different, I think it just fits for the band. I've done it a couple times live and acoustic at my solo shows, and it just for some reason just doesn't have that same flair that it does with the band, And it's a great song, I have lived by the philosophy that if you got a good song, it can be played with one guy on an acoustic. You don't need all the bells and whistles. However, there's certain songs that even though they're great solo or whatever, the band adds those extra dimensions, the bass line, those little ding, 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 dings, all those little cues and stuff like that. All the little nuances. Yeah,
the fullness. They give that the stuff you feel and hear when it's played.
Right. So it does. That song does carry itself, but either way, it's just so much more powerful with the guys.
Well, okay. First of all, I gotta say, okay, you keep talking about the one-man band like, oh, I'm just up here tinkering around and stuff. Give yourself some damn credit. Okay, I've been on stage with you and felt like the most useless person in the world. I'm standing up there playing an electric washboard, and you're over here in a chair, using a freaking 1 foot for the kick drum, 1 foot for a cymbal, playing guitar, harmonica, and singing all at the same time and doing all of it better than anything I could ever do. So stop this. Oh, I'm just pink. No, you are a full band when you do your
I
one man
appreciate
band.
that.
So
Thank you. I
yeah,
appreciate
that's
that.
why I can't wait to get to see Five and Dime play, because just you by yourself sound like a full band. Nobody would believe listening to an album that it's a one man band. You are incredible at what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I enjoy doing it. I work hard. I love it. It's the only thing I've ever really put all of my effort and time and joy into. I don't know. I work hard, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, then that's why it's been like 8 years, I think, we've known each other now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember mutual friends on Facebook. I saw you playing. I was like, I've got to see this guy. And it just lucked out that you were playing up in, what was it, Fire in the Hills.
Fire in the Hills, yeah.
Yeah, we drove up. It was like 3 hours for me to get up there to see you, but I'm so glad I did, because you ain't come back around.
I didn't realize how far.
Yeah, you got to come back around again soon.
Oh, I got a couple Wisconsin dates and UP dates this summer, but yeah, that show, I remember coming into that. I was driving that old '64 Bel Air, and I had like a quarter tank of gas left when I got off the main road, and I'm like, oh, there'll be a gas station in town. I got down there. My needle was on E. Yeah, they actually had to get authorized to sign into the town's gas reserve to give me gas to get the hell back out of town. Because they didn't have a gas station.
Yeah, because we're driving and we're like, no, there's nothing.
Wild.
You get heading in there, and all of a sudden you're like, this is where movies are filmed. I don't know about this. Right, and then all of a sudden there's this little town through this opening. You're like, okay.
And I remember them telling me, they're like,
that's awesome.
Well, technically,
I did not know that story.
Yeah, they were telling me that, like, this is the only time of the year that the population of this town goes over 50 people. Yeah, there's like no gas station, no restaurant. There's a bar. That was it. And the firehouse is the place that had the gas reserves for people in town.
I think there was 3 bars. Yeah, no, it was Wisconsin. I think it was 3 bars and no gas station.
With the 3 bars, a post office, and a firehouse.
For 50 people. That's about right per capita.
Yeah, that was a great time.
All right. So that was a lot of fun. So when you're like, we haven't been able to hang out since you started doing the full band, and like I know you, like there's no stage persona. That's just you. Like I know you personally, and it's just I love seeing people whose real personality is that big. They don't have to try to up it to 10 or something like that when they're on stage. And I know that carries over from your solo stuff into the full band. But do you ever feel like you need to separate yourself and be a little different, so that way when people are coming to see the bands, they're seeing 2 separate things and not just a stripped down version of the other one?
Yeah, no, because like you said, it all comes pretty naturally. Like I am who I am, personally and musically, and it's been a long journey to get there, to get that comfortableness with being myself everywhere, and being able, like, again, when I'm doing my solo shows, it's kind of a more intimate thing. I'm sitting down, I'm kind of, more, I don't want to say like contained or tamed, but because it's still got so much energy into it. But when I'm playing with the band, I got my electric, I'm able to go across the stage, run around. I'm up there with other guys that we're working off each other's energy, musically and personally. We cut up and have banter on stage. So, it's all natural and all comfortable, and it's a lot of fun.
So how many years did you do just the solo between full band projects?
About 8 or 9 years. Yeah. It wasn't until the pandemic happened that's when I decided to put the band. What's that?
So how hard was it? How hard was it going back to playing standing up? After 8 years sitting down where it's a lot more comfortable, how hard was that change, especially for artists that have been around for a while? I'm just wondering, that couldn't have been fun. Those first couple gigs had to been like, oh my god, why am I even standing up? I could do
Um,
this sitting
I'm
down.
I'm still trying to get used to it again. I still feel I still feel uncomfortable when I'm standing up and play. I'm still getting used to it again. and and on top of that, playing with other people on stage. Because it's when it's me, I set the tempo. I do, I'm locked in. I know that, and we're tight, but I got to listen to what they're doing. I can't just go for it. Let the horse out of the gate and run. I got to make sure that I'm vibing off these guys and we're vibing off each other and and being uncomfortable standing up. I never know what to do with my hands.
Wow, two Ricky Bobby quotes in like a half an hour of us talking. I love it.
I love that movie. There's a lot of lessons to be learned in
I
that
me
movie.
too. That and Step Brothers are like mine and my wife's date night movies. That's where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
So, do
if it
you
wasn't
with
for
the
Ricky
two?
Bobby, I would have never heard that Steve Earle tune, Valentine's Day. And that's just one of my favorite songs ever now, man. It's just, oh my God. And I heard it, first time I heard it was because of that movie.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday about how much I miss movie soundtracks from like when we were growing up. There were songs that bands only did, they wrote for that soundtrack. They were
For the
never released
soundtrack.
anywhere else. Which the bad
Right,
part is
right,
now we've got to track down the vinyl or the cassette or CD to even hear it because they'll never go streaming. But I
right.
miss those days of not even finding new music, but hearing one of your favorite bands do a song that you'd never, whether it was a cover or just something completely out of the norm.
Yeah,
Like I miss good movie soundtracks and the importance of that.
yeah. They were great back in the day, man. Like, I think Alice in Chains had a couple of songs on the single soundtrack that were never released, only on that soundtrack, and they're amazing. Amazing. Gross Point Blank was a great soundtrack.
Oh yeah. And actually, anything that Pauly Shore put out in the '90s, the soundtracks were absolutely phenomenal too.
Right. That was the only reason I could sit through Pauly Shore movies was the soundtrack.
Oh, come on now.
Nah, I'm just messing around. I'm just messing around. It's my
Oh.
little stand-up bit.
Oh man, I'm so glad I got you to come on, man. It's been so long since we got to chat. This has been fun so far. We still got more to go. So like with doing the two projects too, because like you're in Michigan, I'm in Wisconsin, so I know what it's like being in a band in the Midwest. Most bars and venues, they only book from like March or April until like October, and that's usually
Yeah,
people at the bars that have outside beer gardens and stuff like that. And it's got to be nice because you can do the five and dime, the full band during the summers when everybody is booking, but having a one-man band gives you the opportunity to sneak into those smaller places that don't have the room indoors for bands over the late fall and winter season in the Midwest.
yeah,
How's that been? That's got to be nice.
yeah. It works out great for me. I actually kind of consider my solo show as my day job. That's what kind of pays my bills and keeps food on the table. And then the band were able to go out and do the bigger venues that might not pay as much, but it's the bigger venues and the crowds are there. It's not the bar where people are yelling over you and playing Keno and watching football. They're the real venues, and a lot of times those don't pay a lot, but the solo shows affords me to be able to do that.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, because it's always fun doing it, especially if it's something you love. And like you said, the fact that your music is your day job. There's so many independent artists that aren't at that point yet. So that's so
Yeah,
cool to see, especially for somebody like you that has put in the time. You're talented as hell, and you freaking deserve it, man. So like,
thank
I'm
you,
happy for you, dude. And then get to go
thank
and
you.
well, then the full band. Basically, you're getting paid to hang out with your buddies and do the same thing you do at your day job.
Right, right, right. I'm very, very, very fortunate. I've been at it a long time, and like you said, I put in the work, and kind of, years ago decided, I kind of saw this thing with Steve Harvey where he talks about, you just at some point you have to jump, whether there's a net or not, you have to jump and make a decision of what you are and what you really want to do. And I really took that to heart and decided, like I'm not going to wait around for somebody to tell me it's okay to be a musician for a living, to give me the opportunity with, like, oh, you're good enough, or here's a contract, or blah, 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 blah. I don't need anybody to tell me that I can or can't be a musician for a living. I can book my own shows. I can release my own albums. I can write my own songs. I don't need validation from anybody. So that's I jumped and just started doing everything on my own, releasing my own music, and writing it, releasing it. I remember my first CD that I put out, like literally having to ship out to have the CDs themselves duplicated, then have the covers printed at a print shop over here, and then have the J cards and everything printed, and then have the cases shipped over here, and they're all in pieces. So I literally sat there, my first run of my first album, 500 copies. I sat there with an X-Acto knife in my kitchen, cutting out the covers, cutting out the J cards, folding them, assembling the cases with the J cards, then a CD in, then close it, then shrink wrap it. And I bought, and again, I didn't want to doing it on my own. I didn't want it to look like I did it on my own. Like I wasn't just gonna like burn a CD on the computer and write on a Sharpie and then print off some cheesy cover. I had them done professionally. I ordered the shrink wrapping equipment. I did everything professionally, and then I went to record stores around the area. Just they were still record stores. This is before the internet and streaming. I drove around with copies of my CD that I wrote, recorded, assembled, produced everything myself, and then I got my car, drove around to different record stores, and if they had like a local consignment play aisle or whatever, they would take it. I'd put them on for sale there and just drive around, keep doing that, and that's again, if you really want to do something, you just do it. You don't need anybody's permission or anybody's validation.
Yeah, see, I love your I love that there's still the DIY ethic of it, and the time that you're willing to put into it is one of the many reasons that you are doing this for real, if that's what people want to say. And I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't forget the one you did. It was a couple of years ago where people could do the custom ordered 7-inch single, and you
yeah,
would
yeah.
record it for each person. I got one. I think I signed up the second I saw it.
I
Like, tell
love
us
doing that.
about that process. What made you think about doing that? Because that was incredible. I mean, as a fan, that's
That
just
was
cool knowing that was recorded for me.
yeah, yeah. The opportunity came during the pandemic. I think it might have been during quarantine. Um, the company Least of All out of New York had put up a post, and they're a vinyl company out of New York, and everyone was feeling the pinch at that time. So they came up with the idea, like, let's do these 7 inches for people, sign up for it. And if your fans want it, these are the songs you offer. Your fans will order it. And then you'll do each recording personalized to them, give them a little message and stuff. And I signed up for it. I really didn't expect much from it, to tell you the truth. And then I couldn't believe the orders that come in. Oh my God. Like I literally like set up like a makeshift studio in my basement where I was doing live streams and stuff during the quarantine. And it was like a 40-hour job, a 40-hour week job. So many orders came in. Then, and again, I did them all personally. I didn't like record the songs and then record an intro. I did everything organic intro, the little message at the beginning, then played the song that the people wanted to hear, and it took me a week of like being at a full-time job to complete all the orders. It was amazing.
That's cool. I think I'd never seen any artist do anything like that, and getting to get a copy of one of your songs like that on 7-inch, it's still one of my favorite in my collection. I just thought that's such a cool idea, and from a marketing standpoint, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it was
I mean, it's
awesome.
just because like it's all about fan interaction and getting that closeness and that
Yeah,
connection. So like
yeah.
I don't think there's a better way. That was so cool
And
that you
it's
did that.
and again, speaking about, the connection and, the intimacy between an artist and their fans, I kind of even hate the word fans, because it just seems a little bit cold to me, like I love being a musician and I'm a fan of music, always have been first and foremost my whole life. When I go out and, meet other musicians that I respect, when I get to hang out with them, like, and they're really personable, I love that. I love that connection. I love the connection with people who dig what I'm writing because to me it says somewhere in this universe and all these frequencies we're sharing some same vibes here. We're sharing a common space. With the philosophy and the thoughts that's coming out in this music, and that's again I love being an independent do-it-yourself musician, and I don't need to be a celebrity to, I wouldn't want to, I don't need that $1 million contracts and all that stuff. It's just so impersonal. To me, it's just, I've been a professional musician without a day job punching a time clock for over 20 years now on my own feet, booking my own shows, writing my own tunes, and deciding where I want to play, when I want to play, where I want to go. And, you know, I don't need to go out. I don't need to go out and be recognized everywhere I go and have a pocket full of money and be on television for the validation that I'm a real musician. I'm a real musician. I write songs. I book shows. You know, I don't need the validation of like the transparency, the fakeness of the celebrityism, the rock star, to validate that I'm a musician. To me, those people aren't musicians. They're writing songs on schedules and deadlines and like going with their brand. They're afraid to, that new song I wrote, Below My Grave. I've never written anything like that before. And if I was to stay on the Cash O'Reilly brand, that song would never be released because I'm worried about, well, it's so different. My fans might not understand it or like it. Screw that. I like the song. I love it. I'm confident about the song. I wrote it. I'm putting it out there. Whether it's rockabilly or funk, you know, whatever it is, if I'm comfortable with it, I'm putting it out there. And at that level, when people get up to that big level, they don't have that freedom anymore. And then they get to a level to where everybody loves them. They're the hot thing, Then all of a sudden they become a parody of themselves, and then they're a joke. Like everybody loved Nirvana when they came out. They changed the world. But then all of a sudden, a year or two later, it's cheesy if you like Nirvana. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm.
everybody does. So it's just fickle, I guess. I don't know.
Yep, I remember all this. I was there for the frickin' early '90s, all between the rise of punk in the early '90s. Like, oh no, they're on MTV, they sold out, and then it's same thing with
Right.
Nirvana. Like, oh, you still like that? I've never given a shit. I
Yeah, I don't
like
give a shit. The
music.
music's good.
I've
It's
got
good. Right.
playlists that I've got playlists that go from Taylor Swift to Gigi Allen, man.
Right.
Good music is good music, and I
Good
don't
music
care
is good
what
music.
anyone else thinks about it.
Yep. And when
Yes. Well, and like,
the whole transition from like the 80s hair metal into the alternative grunge movement in the 90s, like, you know, people listen to those bands in the 80s. If they didn't, they wouldn't have been selling out arenas and all over MTV. And then all of a sudden, the grunge thing becomes cool. And then all those people that bought their Motley Crue albums are denying that they ever bought a Motley Crue album. You know, like, you did it. You bought it. You listened to it. Big deal. Like, why does it have to be like, oh no, if these people knew I'd listened to Twisted Sister back in the day, I'm going to be cheesy and not part of the whole cool movement, you know?
oh, well, that my least favorite saying in the English language is guilty pleasure. Screw
Right,
that.
right.
If you like
Screw that. You
something,
like it.
own it.
Own it.
Who cares if someone else does?
Right,
I mean, it.
right. Man,
Well, and like
there's a
like
lot
you
of
were
freedom
talking.
in letting go. There's a lot of freedom
Oh,
in
there
letting
is.
go of that stuff and just, man, being like, living life like a puppy, unashamed. Hey, you
Yes.
can't embarrass me.
I think that comes with age too, though, because I know
Absolutely.
I was not this smart when I was younger. I can guarantee that.
Hell no. Hell no. It's like me and we talk all the time, man. You couldn't pay me to be young again.
No, absolutely. I barely lived through it the first time. I don't want to try it again.
Right. You know, growing up, our parents and everyone always said, "Oh, enjoy this way, kid. These are going to be the best years of your life." Bullshit.
Yeah. No, not even close.
I feel sorry for those people, man. And then, the good old days, man. I'm still alive. These are the good days, not good old days. I'm living in the present, living now, experiencing life. I'm still on the green side of the grass. These are the good old days.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, because like me, you're also the cool grandpa now.
Hell
So
yeah.
that gives you a whole new outlook on life when you got
Yes,
that
it does.
freaking three generations together and you get to look at that kid, you get to go, ha, they're more like me than they are their parent. That's gotta piss them off.
Yep. Yep. I love it. Love it.
Well,
It's great.
I still remember it's one of my favorite things. I don't even know if I don't think we ever talked about this. Well, we met up in Yuba that 8 years ago. Me and my wife had just found out we were going to be grandparents, but it was too early. You're not allowed to tell anybody, you know.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, we're up on stage, you're tearing down after the show, and I'm like, he doesn't know anybody I know. He's not even from Wisconsin. I could tell him. So I remember you're the first person I told that I was going to be a grandpa. And I remember you started bitching about your daughter because you're like, she's never going to make me a grandpa. And I think, if I'm not wrong, I think she was already pregnant but hadn't told you yet. So while we were
Yep.
up on stage and you were complaining about never being a grandpa, you were going to be and just hadn't found out yet.
Yep. It wasn't long after that I opened up for David Allen Coe at the machine shop in Flint. And I invited her and her boyfriend up that night to the show, and that's when they told me.
That's great. Oh,
Yeah,
dos
yeah,
granditos.
yeah. I love it. I love it.
I still got that song I wrote for you floating around here somewhere. I got to dig that one out. Well,
Yeah, do
Pawpaw's
that. That'd be
telling that
fun.
story again. That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah. You got to dig that, man. If you find it, dig those out, man, and send them to me.
I will. I'll have to look for it later today. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
But,
was.
oh, man. Well, and like something else you had said, well, and it shows just talking with you, like you love what you do. And like you'd said, you
Absolutely.
write music. You don't, I mean, of course it's cool if other people like it, but you write it because you like it. And like
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of bands that I wouldn't listen to their music, you know, kind of like it was good musicians. It was a lot of fun, but it was not I've never listened to them other than being on stage with them. And
Right, right.
you like what you you do what you like as well, and like you can see it in how much you enjoy what you do. Like you're your own biggest fan, which is good
Hell
because
yeah.
that also makes us our own biggest critic too. So, and I
Absolutely.
think that's one of the reasons you put out such high quality music is because you are your biggest fan and your harshest critic. Which it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. But how many projects do you got sitting or songs that like your fans? I know you don't like that word, but your fans would love, but you're like, nope, it's not perfect. I ain't doing it.
Right. Yeah, I've had a few of those, and they before they get played, they gotta feel right to me. There's songs that started off great that I've dumped, and then years later they came back and just worked out. Like actually, Wild Women, that song was years in the making. When it first started off, it was kind of like a more upbeat, kind of almost like a Texas swing, country tune, like a train, and then it felt cheesy, I'm like, I can't get past the chord. It just feels like this cheesy country anthem. And then so I just dumped it. And then one morning I woke up and started picking on my guitar and doing like a slower version of it, and with a finger picking style, more like dunk, 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 chunky. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, yeah, this is where it's at. It's a dark song. It's not a upbeat like woohoo, I like wild women. It's a dark song, and it took me years to realize that it was a dark song. And then once I realized, once it came through and hit me that morning, I had the rest of the lyrics, and the song was done within probably like half an hour.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing the stories about how these songs that I like, how they came about. Like that's always cool, man. But like, I
Yeah,
mean,
I
you
remember I was sitting there when I was writing that tune. I remember sitting there, and I had it pretty much where I wanted it. And then I called my daughter, my oldest daughter, and was like, listen to this and tell me what you think of it. So I played it for her over the phone. And in the second verse, where I say apples don't fall far from the tree, in the original, when I first wrote it, I actually repeated that twice. But she was like, maybe not repeat that line. And I'm like, yeah, I was thinking that too. And I was like, and then I was like, well, how about especially rotten ones like me? She's like, yep, that's it right there. So, I don't know. It was just how it came together, and just, I don't know, just, I dug it. It was like lightning in a bottle. Like I said, I worked on it for years. I didn't really work on it, but I had it in the back of my head for years. And then one morning, something just clicked in my head and my soul, and it just flipped, and it wrote itself within a half an hour.
that's awesome. I love that that song went from just kind of sitting stagnant to you finishing as fast as you did, and then you put out the video for it too. That was
Yeah,
just incredible. So like I love seeing like that almost didn't happen, and then seeing
you're
how
right.
polished like the final product is. That's just awesome, man.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of it. That if that wouldn't have clicked that morning, that song and all that would have never happened. That's been one of my most successful songs, and there's literally been nights where I'm playing a show and people, I kind of save it to the end of the show because people want to hear it, and if they hear it too early, they might leave. So I came towards the end of the show, and there's been nights where people have been like, "Play it again, play it again." They'll come up and tip, and I played that song one night out of Outlaw Pete's. I played that song 5 times in a row at the audience's request. You can
Hey,
bleep that. Sorry about
you're there
that.
for them. You know, you got to be there for an hour. If they want to hear one song for an
Right?
hour, hey, that's all right.
Like,
Whatever.
you want to hear it? I'll
You
play it
feed off the
again.
crowd anyways.
Right? I wrote it. I love it. There's not a thing as playing it too many times. You know, I, I wrote it. I love it. I'm proud of it. You like, and it makes me feel great. I mean, the feeling that to look out in the crowd and have people want to hear it over and over, and they're singing along every lyric as I'm playing it. If something I wrote and it means that much to them, where they actually memorize the lyrics and they sing along with everything they've got in their heart and soul, like that's amazing. I, you know, wow, I'm just some kid from a trailer park in Florida. Like it's amazing. It's a great feeling,
Well, I can't think of a better person for to have this good of luck that you've had. Like, I mean, you're an incredible person, man. Like, I miss you. We got to get together soon, maybe here in a couple months,
for
because
sure.
you're a good person. You're an incredible artist. You bring out the best in the people around you. Like, I can't. I mean, I'm somewhere between like, yeah, that's my buddy, and total fanboy, and I love being in that mixture of that. That's kind of fun.
Oh yeah. I love you too, man. I appreciate that. I feel the same way about you, man.
No, and see, I'm one of them. I'm one of the people in the crowd that's singing along because you recorded that. I think I had you do "Ask Gas or Cash" when you did the
Yeah.
personalized 7 inches. I don't know if I've heard you sing it yet because I sing along every single time. So I kind of wasted my money having you sing that to me because I haven't been able to hear it yet.
I love it. We went down to see the old 97s in Detroit a few months ago. It was a little band field trip. And I love the old 97s. They're one of my favorite bands. And it was so hard to be in that crowd and not sing along to every damn word and annoy everybody around me. I had to contain myself so bad. It was driving me crazy. So I'd pick and choose parts that I would sing along with that I figured other people would sing with. Because I would sit there, I'm again fan of music. I love music. Music is my life. So I would sit there and be that guy in the crowd that sang every damn lyric right along with the band and annoyed everybody around me. So when I go to shows like that, I just gotta keep telling myself, just it's not your show. It's not your show. You're here to listen.
We'll have to go to shows together, and we can just annoy everybody together, and then at least we got backup if we need it.
I love it. I love it. Solidarity.
I'll be in Michigan in a couple months, bro. I promise. I
I
got your
love it.
back.
I love it.
Oh
Hell yeah.
man. All right. Well, hey man, it's been great. So I got one more actually I got a couple more questions for you here. We'll
All right.
try to pretend we're back on track here. So, like you spent a lot of years doing full bands and um one man band and stuff like that. So all the years that you've spent doing that and you've seen marketing go from, burning your own CDs or cassettes and printing your own flyers off somebody else's copy machine to the digital age where you could record your entire album at home, put it on Spotify or Amazon, and you don't even have to leave the house anymore. So with all the changes you've seen in the different genres you've played in and the different projects, what's some good old guy advice?
It kind of cut off at the end there. What's what?
What's some good old guy advice for marketing stuff that you've seen work from, like I said, back from the glue and ink rebellion to print your own flyers with Sharpies and duct tape to
Right.
being able to use Canva and print up an entire flyer in 5 seconds and post it
Yeah.
online. So what's some
It,
stuff
it
you've learned that just it never goes out of date, it never goes out of style, and independent artists need to utilize it more?
handbills, handbills, and physically going around. If you're an independent artist, man, and we do this. I don't do it as much as I'd like to, but we do it when we go on small tours or we're out of town. Like show up early to town, take some handbills, walk around the town. Like we actually ride bikes. Like we take our bicycles with us and ride around town and hit the bike trails and stuff. We enjoy riding bicycles, and we get to see a little bit of the town. And then a lot of times we'll meet people, and a lot of times they don't know who we are. There's a show in town, and like, hey, we're playing tonight in town, blah, blah, blah. But, those little handbills, man, it gets you interaction with people. It's not a big flyer, and it's old school. It's dinosaur, but people really, really, even if they don't realize it, miss that physical interaction. Like going, hey, we're a band from out of town. We're playing at such and such tonight. If you want to hear some good music, come out. If you're not busy, and you hand them a flyer, and then all of a sudden it might strike up a conversation of where you're from, how you doing, da da da, and then once you got that personal, you get a personal interaction with somebody, they're way more likely to come check out your show than just seeing a flyer that you made on Canva that someone passed through the internet. Again, attention spans are so short these days. People are always scrolling, flipping, scrolling. You might sit there and have the coolest flyer ever that you just made on Canva and post it, but even the people who follow you might not even see the detail or anything of it because they just scroll. They might not even read the information about it because they just scroll. That looks cool. What's next? That looks cool. What's next? You know, but if you got something you physically hand them that's not gaudy, they don't have to like fold and figure out where they're going to keep it, just bam, right there, or else, they got those cards now where it's kind of like a link tree card. So people with their phones, if you're out making interaction with people, hey, we're in town tonight, if you don't have that, you've got that link tree card here, scan my phone, you can see everything where we're at, and just that intimate interaction. People like you said earlier, people love having a connection with the music they're listening to and the people who are making it, and again, I'm not a rock star. I'm a musician. I like to interact with everybody, and talk music and ride bicycles, hang out, talk about where they're from, all that stuff, that's real life. And that's everything I write is real to me. It's happened to me. It's happened to somebody I know, everything that, whether it's something I wrote or it's a song that I wish I wrote, that's what I call covers I do. Because to me, it's not doing a cover because if I do a song by another artist, it's because it really means something to me. There's something in that song that reminds me of something that happened in my life, or it explains something that happened in my life, or something that I witnessed or experienced. Every damn song I do has meaning behind it. I've tried to get up there and do songs that are popular just for the crowd, and it just does not work.
No,
If it does, yeah.
You've got to where you are. You've gotten to where you are by telling your story. You're by just being you. And a lot of not just artists, just people. I mean, all of us as human nature, at least decent humans, goal is to be the best version of yourself. And we all try, whether it's, I'm going to read more, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to do this. People need to remember a lot of the times the best version of ourselves are the one we're afraid to show people because we think maybe it's too weird. Maybe I'm too loud, which I know I am.
Right.
But, and they're afraid to be themselves on 10. And people need to realize the best version of you is the one you're most comfortable being and want to be. Don't put out something. Don't put stuff out there that's fake, that's not you. And I'm not just talking about your art. I'm talking about your personality or your comments. It's just, and it's not easy though either. I'm pushing 50 and I'm still working on trying to be comfortable in my own skin,
Oh yeah.
And put myself out there.
Absolutely. Every minute of every day.
Well, that's all the time we got. So, Cash, thanks for coming on. Big thank you. We'll definitely have to have you back on again. And thank you to all the viewers and listeners. We will catch you later.